Seeing the female soldier in front of him, dressed so scantily, Commander Jack felt extremely embarrassed. This was because Lena was someone he had personally transferred. And the reason why Lena was dressed this way was because all her military uniforms were ill-fitting, which led to this awkward situation. In order to avoid attracting unnecessary attention, Jack quickly dismissed the troops, with the aim of giving Lena time to find a change of clothes. However, after searching the entire ship's cabin, Lena found that there were no clothes she could wear. When she returned, Lena became increasingly angry, feeling that the captain had deliberately embarrassed her in front of everyone and was intentionally making things difficult for her. While feeling down, another officer, Henry, approached. He comforted Lena and praised her outfit, saying it looked beautiful. Lena felt very happy upon hearing the compliment, finally feeling understood. As the atmosphere became more ambiguous, the relationship between Henry and Lena began to warm up. Eventually, they developed feelings for each other. That day, Lena reported for duty dressed in Henry's military uniform. When Jack saw her, he was very satisfied and immediately promoted Henry to vice captain of the unit. Soon after, while the unit was on a mission aboard a submarine, they unfortunately encountered an accident. The submarine's hull was struck by debris, and a large amount of seawater flooded the cabin. In this critical moment, Lena quickly stepped forward to command the helmsman. In the end, the personnel in the cabin successfully escaped danger. Let me know if you need further. The woman slowly unbuttoned her shirt, deliberately leaving the door slightly ajar. Then, she returned to her room, removed her clothes, and a passing boy just happened to see the whole scene. He was captivated by her figure. What the boy didn't know was that this was all part of the woman's carefully orchestrated plan. After the boy left, Sophia smiled. In reality, she was a nun, feeling lonely every night. But the boy's appearance sparked a glimmer of hope in her heart. Jason was not only handsome and smart, but he could also sing and play the guitar. Every night she would sit by her computer, listening to Jason sing, staring at his handsome face. That morning, Sophia had planned to ask Jason out, but when she saw Jason flirting with the campus beauty Anna, she was furious. She immediately ordered Anna to sit in the front row, separating them.
I trust that you'll check your behavior.
After school, Sophia saw Jason working on campus and confidently walked over to chat with him. Because it was so hot, Sophia told Jason to come to her room that evening, saying they needed to discuss some academic matters. Due to copyright issues, I can only explain up to this point. The movie is called Bad Nun.
New prisoner had just gotten off the transport. All the prison guards immediately put away their guns. Many of the other prisoners rushed to the iron fence, eager to catch a glimpse of him. Even the warden had carefully dressed up and personally welcomed his arrival. He was the highest-ranked prisoner ever held in this prison since its establishment. He was General Eugene Owen, a 3-star general. As a legendary figure in the army, Owen had immense prestige in the military. Every soldier imprisoned here knew his glorious battle achievements. However, despite being a general with remarkable military accomplishments, he had voluntarily become a prisoner. It turned out that during a mission, he disobeyed the president's orders and acted on his own, resulting in the deaths of more than 20 soldiers. He was then brought before a military tribunal, but he did not use his status as a general to defend himself. Instead, he willingly accepted the punishment and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. On the first day Owen arrived at the prison, he received the highest level of reception from the warden, who enthusiastically introduced him to the prison's operations. The prison had been converted from an abandoned castle, and it housed only soldiers who had committed offenses. However, by evening, the warden began to feel concerned. Since all the prisoners in the facility were soldiers, Owen's former rank as a 3-star general could potentially earn him greater respect in the prison than the warden himself. The narrow-minded warden didn't want to see this happen, as he believed himself to be the ruler of the prison, and he wouldn't allow anyone to challenge his authority. Thus, the warden decided to teach Owen a lesson. To be continued. I've never seen such a righteous serial killer. Every time he kills someone, thousands of citizens flood social media with likes and supportive comments, because his victims are all criminals who somehow manage to escape justice. Take this vicious woman, for instance. She'd been slowly poisoning her husband's food every single day, while also using her 2 stepsons in illegal money-making schemes. When a car came speeding down the road, she deliberately shoved both kids into its path. Thankfully, the driver had lightning-fast reflexes and slammed on the brakes just in time, preventing a tragedy. What really makes your blood boil is what happened next. Instead of checking if the kids were hurt, she had the nerve to scold them for their bad acting, blaming them for failing to extort any money from the driver. Just as she was about to get violent with the children, our mysterious vigilante appeared out of nowhere and stopped her cold. He threw a hood over her head and took her away. This meant one thing: she would face the people's judgment. At 10 p.m. sharp, every citizen received a notification from an app called National Death Penalty Vote. They had 1 hour to cast their vote. If more than half voted for execution, the woman would face death. The vigilante known as Dogface had done his homework. His investigation revealed the woman had been married 3 times before. All 3 husbands died within a year of marriage, each from different accidents. After every wedding, she'd taken out massive life insurance policies on her new husband. She'd already collected over 10 billion Korean won from her dead husbands. The insurance companies tried to nail her for fraud, but the case fell apart due to lack of evidence. But this evil woman didn't learn her lesson. She'd already set her sights on husband number 4, and now she'd even dragged her 2 stepsons into her deadly scheme. Dogface laid out her crimes one by one, pleading with citizens to cast that crucial vote. The police, meanwhile, scrambled to rescue the woman. The Justice Department saw Dogface as a direct challenge to the rule of law. In their view, she should face a court of law, not mob justice. But with only 50 minutes left on the clock and the yes votes already past 50%, time was running out. Using her phone's GPS, police tracked her to a parking garage. When they opened the car door, they were shocked to find her left foot chained to the seat with a timed bomb attached. Just then, a video confession appeared on everyone's app, the woman admitting to all her crimes. This would definitely push more people to vote yes. The cybercrimes unit tried tracking Dogface through the app, but it was professionally encrypted and impossible to crack. The bomb squad was called in, but the wiring was too complex to disarm quickly. Their only option was to move the vehicle to an open area to minimize casualties if it went off. They settled on a school playground, but GPS showed it would take half an hour to get there. The officers jumped in the car and told the woman to drive, but by now she was shaking so badly from fear that her legs wouldn't cooperate. This girl stumbled upon a mysterious bottle of liquid, and without thinking twice, downed the whole thing. Almost immediately, her stomach started churning violently, and she collapsed to the ground. When she came to, she was horrified to find her skin rotting away, with bloody sores erupting all over her arms. She frantically tried washing them off, but nothing worked. To make matters worse, sharp spikes began sprouting from the sores. Terrified, she grabbed scissors and started cutting them off, but the spikes had already spread to her palms. Strangely enough, these mutations gave her an incredible ability. She could now crawl up walls like a spider. In this future world, a deadly virus has infected the air, forcing everyone to wear gas masks at all times. Scientists developed a respiratory medication that could cleanse the lungs and prevent infection. Ella mistook the bottle she found for this life-saving drug, which is why she didn't hesitate to drink it. But what she'd actually consumed was a knockoff from the black market, an unauthorized fake that could cause irreversible side effects. The truth was, Ella's boyfriend had stolen this bottle from black market dealers to impress his new girlfriend. Just as the 2 lovebirds were about to take it together, Ella burst through the door. She stood there, stunned, staring at her cheating boyfriend and her so-called best friend. A huge fight broke out. Her friend, consumed with guilt, fled the scene, while the scumbag boyfriend stormed out, accidentally leaving the bottle behind. Overwhelmed with emotions, Ella grabbed the bottle and chugged it down. Soon after, dizziness hit her hard, and her skin began to decay. She stumbled into the bathtub trying to calm herself down. Just as she dunked her head underwater, her ex came rushing back into the apartment with a gang of thugs hot on his heels. They'd discovered he'd stolen their merchandise and were demanding to know where it was. They tore the place apart searching, but came up empty-handed and left, furious. That's when Ella revealed she'd drunk it all. Her ex was shocked, but being the selfish prick he was, he immediately locked her inside and ran out to tell the gang. When they returned, Ella had vanished. The gangsters were pissed and warned him not to call the cops. This whole mess showed just how valuable that drug really was. After they left, the boyfriend discovered Ella hanging from the ceiling. Exhausted, she lost her grip and crashed to the floor. Weakly, she tried to crawl away and escape, only to find the door locked from the outside. In desperation, she punched the door and, to her amazement, her fist went straight through it. But the gang was still searching downstairs, so she had to find another way out. She grabbed a tool and started smashing at the skylight. It shattered after just a few blows. Hearing the noise, the thugs rushed upstairs, but Ella and her ex had already climbed onto the roof. During their escape, the boyfriend lost his footing and fell. Cornered at the edge, Ella had no choice but to jump too. Miraculously, Ella landed without a scratch, while her ex lay unconscious on the ground. She ran into the street just as a car approached. At that moment, the drug's effects overwhelmed her and she passed out. The driver took her back to his place. As he looked at Ella's unconscious form, dark thoughts crossed his mind.
Rich woman was lying on a kayak, enjoying a sunbath. Suddenly, a dagger emerged from the water, piercing the kayak. By the time she reacted, it was already too late. The police dispatched a Coast Guard boat to the scene to search for the body. Jack, equipped with gear, dived to the seafloor. Not long after he descended, Jack discovered a sunken ship. Just as Jack was about to open the hatch to investigate, the killer, holding a dagger, suddenly appeared. The two immediately became entangled in a fierce struggle, causing massive waves on the water's surface. The others noticed something was wrong, and quickly pulled on the ropes with all their strength. When they finally managed to pull up Dakshan, they discovered he had already turned into a corpse. The sheriff, witnessing this, immediately ordered the blocking of all river exits, and urgently deployed 80,000 pumps to drain the seawater, preparing to catch the killer in the act. The SWAT team quickly arrived and surrounded the riverbank, standing in full alert. However, when the water was drained, everyone was shocked. The place that should have hidden the killer was left with only an oxygen tank. The killer had vanished without a trace. Due to copyright issues, I can only explain up to this point. The movie is called Amsterdam.
A man stumbled upon something deeply unsettling during his latest expedition. A cave had mysteriously appeared on the mountain he'd been climbing for years. When Hopper reached the cave entrance, he spotted someone inside holding a lantern, standing perfectly still. No matter how many times he called out, the figure remained silent. Curiosity got the better of Hopper, and he ventured into the cave. Gradually, a strange energy field enveloped him. He felt an invisible force trying to hold him back, but he pressed on anyway. That's when he noticed something bizarre. The mysterious figure wasn't actually motionless. Instead, they were moving forward at a pace so slow it was barely visible to the naked eye. The closer Hopper got, the faster the figure seemed to move. This eerie phenomenon sent chills down Hopper's spine. Just as he was trying to process what he was seeing, the cave entrance began flickering between light and darkness. Then, from deep within the cave, came a blood-curdling cry for help. Terrified, Hopper bolted for the entrance. But something was wrong. Though he'd only been inside for a few minutes, night had already fallen outside. He rushed down the mountain only to find his pickup truck in ruins, overgrown with weeds and vines. When he tried to start it, the engine was completely dead. Getting out to investigate, he was shocked to discover his student's car nearby, in the same decrepit condition. The gravity of the situation finally hit him. Something supernatural was happening in that cave. Steeling himself, he headed back up the mountain. To avoid getting lost, he dropped glow sticks at regular intervals. When he encountered the mysterious energy field again, the glow stick he tossed ahead hung suspended in midair. After a moment, it passed through the barrier and fell normally. Looking back, he saw the cave entrance flickering again. Determined to find his missing students and uncover the cave's secrets, Hopper ventured deeper into the darkness. Just half an hour earlier, Hopper's students had arrived for a hike and found his truck at the base of the mountain. Unable to locate him, they noticed a rope leading from behind the vehicle. Following it, they discovered a strange cave, though not the same one Hopper had entered. As they followed the rope deeper inside, they found it had been mysteriously severed at a cliff edge. Fearing Hopper had fallen, they decided to mount a rescue. They left young Furby to stand watch at the entrance while the other four rappelled down on ropes. Halfway down, they encountered the same mysterious force field trying to repel them, but their concern for Hopper outweighed their fear, and they pushed through. They decided to split up to cover more ground, but the two girls hadn't gone far when something terrifying happened. A woman disguised as a chef secretly dripped a few drops of emetic into an egg custard before serving it to superstar Daphne. Starving, Daphne wolfed down the entire custard, only to feel her stomach turn moments later. She rushed toward the bathroom in a panic, but someone had locked all the rooms except the last one. Without thinking twice, Daphne burst through the door. A thief posing as a waitress showed fake concern for Daphne, then deftly unclasped the billion-dollar diamond necklace from her neck while she was distracted. The thief calmly walked out of the bathroom and slipped the necklace onto a server's tray. Another thief, Amita, disguised as a dishwasher, pocketed the necklace when no one was looking. She slipped into a storage room and opened a hidden workstation. In 30 minutes, she planned to break down the necklace and remake it into 7 different pieces of jewelry, making them easy to smuggle out of the venue. When Daphne emerged from the bathroom, her bodyguards immediately noticed her bare neck. They quickly alerted security to lock down the venue and began a thorough search of everyone present. Meanwhile, another thief, Constance, took advantage of the chaos to set up her phone on a stand, using a photo to block the security camera. She nimbly climbed above the jewelry display case and hung upside down to reach it. After placing the real pieces in a sealed bag and swapping them with fakes, she attached the bag to a toy boat. Her teammate remotely controlled the boat to retrieve the jewelry while Constance hid in a cart with her equipment and was wheeled away by another accomplice. As the bodyguards continued their frantic search for the necklace, one of them approached the storage room. The thief quickly alerted her teammate Tammy, who dropped a fake necklace into a water fountain and pretended to find it, shouting for attention. The guards rushed over, and Daphne breathed a huge sigh of relief. By the time Amita had transformed the real necklace into 7 different pieces of jewelry, Lou, disguised as a server, distributed them to the team members. Dressed in their evening gowns, they strolled out of the venue without raising any suspicion. When the jewelry company discovered they'd received fakes, the thieves had already sold the real jewels on the black market. The nearly $2 billion haul was enough to set them up for life. The man carefully extended his hand and discovered an invisible giant wall in front of him. It felt as though the entire town was cut off from the outside world. Before he could understand what had happened, the roar of an airplane engine came from above. As the airplane made contact with the wall, it instantly disintegrated. Debris flew everywhere, and it was about to strike the nearby residents. Harvey quickly tackled one of the residents, successfully saving him. However, before Harvey could catch his breath, he saw a fire truck speeding towards them. If the truck collided with the wall, the consequences would be disastrous. He immediately ran into the street trying to stop it, but the driver ignored him, thinking he was a madman. John desperately tried to explain, but the driver couldn't hear him and slammed into the invisible wall with full force. Clearly, this wall not only cut off contact with the outside, but it also blocked sound transmission. At that moment, the town's police officers arrived, discovering that the entire town was surrounded by a mysterious barrier. All device signals were lost, and even the power supply was affected. To prevent further casualties, the mayor broadcasted a final warning, advising residents not to leave the town recklessly, and all drivers must stop immediately. However, some people still clung to hope, trying to drive their children to the city for medical treatment. At that moment, a loud crash was heard from ahead. A truck was suddenly crushed without warning. If the woman in the truck hadn't reacted quickly, it was likely they would not have survived either. The man was sentenced to a full 20 years in prison, just for stealing a loaf of bread. He worked in water every day, doing the hardest and most grueling labor. One day, he was finally released after serving his sentence. However, the prison warden did not let him go, but instead gave him an almost impossible task: to carry a flagpole weighing several hundred pounds by himself. He exerted all his strength, miraculously completing the task, carrying the flagpole in front of the warden. The warden had no choice but to hand over his release certificate, but the man noticed something was wrong. The paper stated that he was a dangerous element. What was called release was actually parole. He had to report to the police station every week, as if he hadn't truly gained freedom. The man's name was Jack. He had originally stolen the bread to save his starving nephew, but was sentenced to 5 years. Later, due to multiple escapes, his sentence was increased to 20 years. Now, although he was out of prison, his parole certificate caused him to be discriminated against wherever he went. No one would hire him when he went looking for work. Children mocked and bullied him when he walked on the street. At night, he went to an inn and begged the owner to let him sleep in the stable for one night, but he was thrown out. The owner feared he would dirty the place. Cold and hungry, he had nowhere to go. In the end, he could only sleep by the door of a church. Just as he fell asleep, a priest woke him up. The priest seemed kind. He led him into the church, gave him hot food and a clean bed. But by this time, he had suffered so much that he no longer believed there were good people in the world. To be continued.